Hey, this is Mikey, and in today's After Effects tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do this cool line circle-y thing. So this is a popular look these days with, and it's created using shape layers. And you can see other tools out there to help you kind of create these looks, such as AE Suites, and that will save you a lot of time, but that's not what I'm here for. I want to teach you how to create your own that's in the style and similar to what they have on that AE Suites. Now, if you get done with this and you feel like you don't want to spend all the time, you can go ahead and go get that product. It's a good product, but I like to teach you how to do things by hand. So let's get started. First off, we're going to do this all with shape layers. And so I need to create a shape layer. Right now I have just a blank composition, 1920 by 1080. I have it 5 seconds long. I'm going to come up here where it says rectangle tool, click and hold, and go to the ellipse tool. If I click and drag, it'll make all sorts of weird shapes, but if I hold down shift, it will keep it perfectly circle. And I'm going to try to center that best I can. But then what I can do is I can come in here and center that perfectly. And shape layers are a little bit hard to control because if we see here, there's the contents. I've got the position and the anchor point for the layer as a whole, but then I have the position and the anchor point for the contents, and I also have the position for the path. So there's 3 different positions, and it gets really confusing. So what I like to do is when you create this circle, it basically creates a group called ellipse 1, and I can actually add in more groups. And in this group is the ellipse path, the stroke, and the fill, and the transform. So right here you can see we're almost centered at 0 and -7, so I'm going to just hit 0 on both, and then that's centered out. Now I want this center just to make things easier, in the long run. And so first off, we need to create a nice stroke to create this kind of circle sweeping look. And then once we get a stroke and a motion we like, we can just copy that and change up some of the attributes and change out the timing, and then everything will kind of look cool. So with this stroke, I don't want to fill, so I'm going to go ahead and just click on the fill, hit delete, and let's go into the stroke, and let's bring that up nice and thick. Now to create that kind of that sweeping look, I can to this add there's all these different effects. So what I want to do is I want to click on where it says ellipse 1. That's the group layer. And I'm going to come down and I'm going to trim paths. And what this does is it gives you a start and an end and an offset. So you can see right here, that's pretty cool. So what I want to do is I want to bring this down to 0. And let's just take both of these, keyframe them, go forward a few frames. I went forward 20 frames, and keyframe both to 100%. Now that's not going to look like anything right now, but what I want to do is I'm going to go into the graph editor, and I'm going to turn this into a Bezier tool. So I'm going to just hold down Option on the keyboard, or Alt, and click. And then what I want to do is let's kind of change the way this this curve is. And let's get them both about the same. Now, what I do now is go away from the curve settings, and let's just take this and move 1, and then make this top one, the start time, go a little bit faster. So I don't really quite like that movement, so let's go in here and kind of fix this a little bit. So I'm clicking on the start, and that's just a little bit too intense for me. Maybe we go a nice S-curve like that. Let's see what that looks like. A little bit too fast in the center. Okay, I like that. Now let's go back to the end. And let's just create another nice S-curve. And let's drag this out. Okay, I like that. I'm not sure if I like the speed of that. Might be a little slow, so I'm going to just take both of these end keyframes and move them in together. Maybe this one a little bit, and then in together a little bit more. Okay, let's see that in full speed. Okay, I like that. So this is the movement I want for all of my circles. And now I just have to just copy and paste and change attributes, and let's just kind of show you some different things we can do. So I'm going to just label this black ring. Okay, now what I want to do is I'm going to just take this and copy it or duplicate it. I just hit Command D on the keyboard, and let's call this white fat ring. So now I can come in here and I'm going to go to where I can see it. So I just move the playhead in the middle, and I can come into the stroke, and let's take the stroke width way up. Let's change the color to white. Let's also take this and move it below the black ring, and let's go into the trim paths, and let's move these keyframes. So you can see kind of it'll follow. Now something I want to do now, just to make what I'm doing easier to see what I'm doing, I'm going to go to add a new solid layer. And let's make it kind of, I don't know, this palish grayish green. Okay. So I like that movement so far. That's pretty cool. So we can just keep on adding circles to this. So let's do another. Let's call this a blue circle. And what I'm going to do with this one, again, let's go to the middle where we can see what's going on, is I'm going to take the ellipse path and bring the size down. And then let's take the stroke color. Let's change the color. Kind of like that watermelony pink. And let's bring the stroke width down. Maybe up a little bit. And let's bring the path again, the size down. I want just a circle in the center to make sure it's a complete circle and not just a really thick line. Ooh, that kind of looks cool. Lots of experimenting you can do with this. I don't think I quite like it where it crosses over like that, so I'm just going to enlarge that until it's right about there. And so now that's going to draw a circle in the middle. But what I want to do with this one is I want the timing to change. I don't want everything to be lined up as far as timing. So let's come into, I said blue circle, but let's change the name of that. Pink circle. And let's go into the trim paths. And to kind of change things up, I'm going to just take these two and move them to the other side to reverse everything. And what I also want is I want that circle to be complete. And then it will, you know, disappear. So I can just, by adjusting these keyframes and moving them around, I'm creating the kind of this really unique motion. All right, let's add a little bit more stuff to this. We can add some other cool things, like maybe some dashed lines. So let's do that again. Let's take this black ring, let's duplicate it, and let's call this dash. And let's pick a nice color for it. I'm just kind of going all crazy on the colors here. You can do whatever you feel is necessary. Now with the stroke, right here it says dashes. I'm going to hit the plus sign, and then I'm going to take this path and I'm going to bring it in. And we can see here, kind of creates a dash look. Now what I want to do is I don't want it to be long dashes that way. So let's take this stroke width, bring it down like that. Let's go into where it says dashes here again. Let's hit plus again, and this gives you another option. And so I'm going to make a bigger gap between them. And then I can just adjust the dash length and the dash gap in order to get the look that I want. About like that. Looks pretty good. I do want the timing to be different than this black ring though. So what we can do again is just come into this trim paths, and let's move just the front of them. And let's make that really fast. So another cool thing that I saw in some of the examples that they had on the AE suites, some really cool motion, maybe even go analyze and see what they're doing, and you can come up with some cool ideas, is it had this kind of this trailing line come behind one of them. So I want to do that right now with the white ring. So let's go into this white fat ring. I'm going to duplicate that. Call that trails. And I'm going to come in here to this stroke, and let's bring the width really skinny. But in order to see what's going on, I need to go back into this trim paths and kind of move it over so I can see the line coming out the end here. So let's go back into the stroke width and bring it down pretty skinny, about like that. And then let's go into the ellipse path and let's move it out towards the end, the outside edge of the ring. And then what I can also do is I'm going to just duplicate this, come back into the the ellipse path, and then bring it in this way. Now since I have everything centered and these are perfect circles, all I have to do is scale and everything will scale nicely. So let's take a look at that. That's pretty cool, isn't it? So that's really the basis of doing this kind of movement, is just getting the movement you like, and then just copying and duplicating the different contents of the shape layer and moving around, playing around with the timing and the color and different attributes. So in order to kind of add a little bit more to this, let's do something, let's just make a different shape. So what I can do is I'm just going to grab this pen tool, make sure I've got my shape layer selected, and I'm going to draw just like a triangle. Not really a triangle. It's got 4 sides. Triangle-ish. So what I can do is, let's take this. Let's call this triangle-ish. And let's give it a different color, of course. Now with this one, since I completed the whole shape, it's not the stroke that I changed the color, it's the fill, and I left the fill on this one. So let's go in. We haven't done yellow yet. Click OK, and I want to add a repeater to this. So I'm got triangle-ish selected, and I'm going to add a repeater, and you can see it repeats it that way, but I don't want to repeat it linear. I want to repeat it radial. So I come into the repeater settings. Right there it says transform repeater, and position has been changed to 100. I want to change that to 0. And now what I want to do is change the rotation. So you can see here the rotation is going to rotate around the anchor point. That's pretty cool. But how many repetitions do I want? Let's do, if we do 6 of them, then I need to change the rotation. And easiest way to find out exactly how to rotate this is to take 360 degrees divided by how many copies you have, which is 60 degrees. So I have this set at 60 degrees for 6 copies. If I had 5 copies, then I need to do some math and figure out how much that is. But that will keep everything spaced properly. So 360 degrees divided by how many copies you have, and that's how it rotates evenly around. So what I want to do with this is I want these triangles to kind of move out. And in order to move out, I just can't come in here to the transform and move it because it moves everything as a whole. So I need to basically add another group. And so how I do that is I'm going to go up to add group, and right here it says group 1. And I'm going to take the path and the fill and stick that into that group. Now this group has its own transform controls. It's like pre-comping something, but doing it in the shape layers. So I can come in here now and I can move this position. And you can see they all move out individually, which is pretty cool. I might even start it like this. Right here where the circle completes. Hit the keyframe. Move it out. Maybe we can even move it completely off the screen. And then at this point, I can come in here to scale. Move back a couple of frames, bring that down to 0. And of course, I can also come in here and, let's just highlight these. I can right click. I can change the keyframe assistant and go just to easy ease. Okay, I'm kind of liking this. What I do want to see though is I want to see these triangle thingies maybe fade out as they get further away. So maybe starting about right here, I can come in here again to opacity. Let's keyframe the opacity, and by the time they are here, just barely in the corners, let's bring that opacity down to 0. And let's take a look at what we made. So that's it for my After Effects tutorial, doing this cool circly line thing using shape layers in the style of kind of like the AE Suites new plugin that's coming out. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Just put them down in the comments, and I will get to them. And if you haven't done so, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I put out videos every Friday, and they're usually really practical After Effects things like this, things that I've done in actual client work and projects that I've worked on. So if you have any requests, again, put that down in the comments below. I'd love to see if I can create a tutorial that can help you out. Thanks for watching. Bye.